everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We're here with a bonus episode. We're talking about the E exclamation point rom-coms in July. Very exciting. And this is our second batch of E exclamation point rom-coms that we've gotten this year. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Mitu is here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's so good. It's been a while since we chatted. It's always nice to catch up. And our last rom-com recap that we did for these E exclamation point. I just think that's funny. Nobody else probably does, but
That's how I say it.
The last ones that we did had 52,000 views on YouTube. You're like a hit, me too. How do you feel about that?
Wow, it's an honor to be nominated. I am just excited to be here. I like that my niche with Hallmarkies is mystery movies and now the world of like PG-13
Right.
rom-coms.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for us to chat through these too.
Would you say that first batch was better or worse than this batch?
That's a good question. I sincerely don't remember the first batch. I just remember in one of the movies that starred someone who was on the show One Day at a Time, she suggested a
Yeah,
hot
the
sauce
royal.
that I ended up buying.
Oh, you did?
So
The
maybe
Royal Rendezvous.
Royal Rendezvous. So perhaps I prefer the first batch because I've never considered the idea of a gomen hot sauce, which is something that she recommended, and just truly found an Ethiopian hot sauce company that sells that. So shout out to that movie forever.
Yeah. I think the first batch were a lot better. The third one was really boring, but these three actually were probably all better made, but I was more frustrated. I think the first three were more fun, kind of rom-coms, and the Royal Rendezvous was my favorite. So far, of the E exclamation point movies, and the Royal Rendezvous is my favorite.
And that's the one with the hot sauce that I like.
Yes,
Then
with the
that's my
hot sauce.
favorite too.
Yeah.
And it's coming back to me. I do I do remember liking it too. I don't want to just reduce it to a food choice I made.
Hey, if it inspires a hot sauce devotion, that's important.
It is.
Yeah. Well, have you had a chance to watch like other like Hallmark, or have you been or if you've been watching movies did you see Barbenheimer?
I have not yet seen Barbenheimer. I
Okay.
just watched Mission Impossible, so I'm on
Okay.
like a 4-week delay on culture. What I have been watching on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, which is where my TV lives,
Mm-hmm.
not a Hallmark production, but I'm watching Diagnosis Murder for the first time.
Oh,
Absolutely
okay.
fantastic television program.
Mm-hmm.
I love Dick Van Dyke. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
where I have been for the last 20, 30
Who
years.
doesn't like Dick Van Dyke? I mean, come on. Yeah.
He's a star, and
Yeah.
the Dick Van Dyke Show is maybe my favorite of the black and whites, but I've really enjoyed Diagnosis Murder. And also, I love that the like pause on Lori Loughlin has been lifted, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching Garage Sale Mysteries. I've just been
Oh, so good.
DVRing it as it comes
Uh-huh.
up on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel. And that's been so fun to revisit because in the mystery
Yeah.
movies now, it's typically like someone, finds a guy and they're interested in potentially dating, and that
Right.
is just as like important to the plot as the mystery. Whereas in Garage Sale Mysteries, which is, I think some of the other older mysteries are like this too on Hallmark. She has a family. There's like
Yeah.
fun stuff happening within the family, but she's pretty much fully focused on the mystery. And I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I still think that Garage Sale Mysteries is the best that they've ever made. I still have not watched The Murder She Baked, so I have, that's my big Hallmark blind spot.
Oh,
But
I've seen that one. And I think Garage Sale Mysteries is still the best. And
that's
I
what
read
I've
the
heard.
books. I
Oh, you
I
did?
used to read the books,
Yeah.
the Joanna Swenson books. Joanna Fluke, Hannah Swenson. Just
Yeah.
combine them.
Right. Yeah, I still think those are the best that I've seen, and the mysteries have been really not great this year. Mm.
And we
The only
need
one that
more
I've
of
really
them.
loved was the very first one that aired in January, the family history mysteries or whatever. I really enjoyed that one, especially there was a like a secondary romance that was so cute. I
I
loved
really
them.
liked that one too.
Yeah, that one
You
was
know
really
what?
good.
I liked, what was the name of the one with, you're the Hallmark movies and mystery expert, or Hallmark expert, period. And I just watch it casually and then
Uh-huh.
share half facts that I remember, like hot sauce. Um, but the married couple that the husband is
Oh,
training to be a PI.
yeah, that one was pretty good. That was
I
pretty
really
good.
liked
That
that
was pretty
one.
good. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Something Lane,
Mystery Lane.
Mystery
Yeah, Paul
Lane.
Campbell.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that
Yeah,
one.
that one
And that
was
couple, they both cracked me up.
yeah, yeah. And I did think the dancing detective one was pretty good. I just wished it wasn't a mystery. To me it was like I just wish this was like Roman Holiday, you
Yeah,
know. I
that's
just
true.
like all the mystery elements. I was like, yeah.
And it made me miss the other one. Oh my goodness. I'm not remembering any names, but it's also filmed in Monaco, and it came out like a couple years ago, and she was like a hotelier and her love interest was like a spy,
Oh, well, this
or I
is To
think
Catch
she's
a Spy.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah. That
so
was a
good.
one-off. That was good.
I
That was
wanted
good.
I thought like surely they will make more of these based
Mm-hmm.
on how well this
Mm-hmm.
one turned out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. But I hope that our friends at E exclamation point that they keep making rom-coms, because even though this batch I didn't love them, I hope that they don't get discouraged, and I hope they keep making them because we need more. And these ones were definitely not as spicy as the first three either, I don't think, in general.
Really?
Mm-mm. I mean, I think that maybe It's You was the most spicy,
Mhm. Yeah.
but the other two, not that much. There's just like some kisses and
That's true. One thing I noted for Mismatch and Maybe It's You that I thought was pretty cool was they both talked about condom usage,
uh-huh.
which I feel like is a missing thing in a lot of romance movies. And it was nice
Yeah,
to like have such helpful conversation about safe sex.
it's true. That's true. There was some of that, and that is an interesting thing that you see in like in romance novels. Now they're always like very careful to be
Mm.
like put in a paragraph. Because and so I think that that's because I don't know if you knew, but the romance novel, like the romance category, like
Mhm.
category romance, is like practically saving publishing right now. I mean, it is
Really?
by far the most successful uh genre in publishing right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I was doing a presentation about what people want out of these Christmas movies, and so I was looking, and yeah, the stats are pretty interesting about what's happening right now in publishing, and like romance is just by far the most successful.
People love
Uh,
love.
Yeah, they do. They do. I mean, it makes sense that in the pandemic and post-pandemic, people want love stories.
That's true.
Hmm.
I tried to read some political book like in the height of quarantine, like halfway through 2020. And then out loud to myself, I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are we do we want to make ourselves sad right now? Do we want to learn? Like, And then I pulled up that I think it's called like the guest list or something, one of those like mystery books. And I was like, this is
Yeah.
more my speed
Oh,
mentally
yeah. I
until
know
we
that
see
one.
ourselves through this.
Yeah. It was funny. My sister is she has her master's degree in gender studies or something like that. And so, and I remember when I visited her once, she was like reading this book about the state of the prison system on the beach. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And
Oof.
then like as as the pandemic went along, I started noticing on her Goodreads, there would be like Emily Henry or like The Hating Game or like things like that. Like, oh, okay.
There's only so long you can read The New Jim Crow on the beach as you're,
Yeah.
like, dealing with the world crumbling around you.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
only so long you can do that.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind the scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Well, the first movie that aired of this new group, it was called Mismatch. And it stars Anya Savik, Shannon Chan Kent, Brad Harder, and Madison Smith. It's directed by Lucy Guest, who's done like tons of these movie of the week movies. And Janae Backen is the writer. It follows Athena. She moves to Los Angeles to jumpstart her writing career. Single and working for a dating company, she's going on new dates under the alias of Amy and becomes so comfortable that she no longer knows how to date as Athena. So overall, what do you think about this one?
I thought this one was fun, but a little sad.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this one of the 3 had the least fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what was odd about that is there is such potential with the date better concept, the fact that she's going on dates with strangers and consulting them and helping them to make the dates better. I think they had fun with that concept of showing lots of fun and funny dates, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it could have been even more ridiculous.
Yeah, I did like this one the best. I felt like it was trying to be subversive and be kind of the snarky kind of look at dating and everything. And I appreciated that. And I liked all the very handsome men that we see throughout. I wish
Some
that she'd
hotties.
been a lot of hotties, yeah. But I wish that we had gotten to spend more time with her and Mason because I think they could have done a better job of sort of building up that relationship throughout. And I feel like it's very unrealistic of this job that supposedly she's going to be going on dates with all of these men and it's never going to actually form a connection. It's never going like that you would lose your job because of that. I feel like the only way that makes sense to me is if like it's a one and done kind of situation and not like multiple dates like they're showing here. I just don't
Mm,
feel like that's realistic that like nobody would form an attachment. Nobody would like you're kind of a bad dater then. I feel like at a certain point if you go on all of these like multiple, we're going out a lot of times and an attachment isn't made at a certain point, like I just feel like the fact that she gets immediately fired because of that, I just don't think that's very realistic. I feel like if this were to actually be a thing and she was a professional dater, I think that they would they would almost expect that to eventually happen.
That's a good point. Almost likened it to matchmakers, but it's true that if you're a matchmaker, you're not going on multiple dates with this person, you're setting them
Hmm.
up. Versus
Yeah.
in this one, you are dating them. That is your
Hmm.
job. So
Hmm.
that's true. It is odd. I hadn't considered it from that perspective that they wouldn't anticipate that anyone would have a connection. Though it was wild to see Athena and we learn Mason meeting at a cafe, running into each other, and just smelling old books.
Hmm.
I was like, maybe they're meant to be. When I saw them doing that, I was like, perhaps, perhaps this is the only like they're their only person, the other one. Because it just it's one thing to enjoy the smell of books. Me, I love a book.
Yeah.
But they are like sticking their noses inside used books at a cafe. Who knows what the foot traffic is?
Right.
And
That's
just
true.
deep inhales of like
Uh-huh.
whatever. I have a friend who used to work at the library and she won't physically touch library books. Like she will, she's like, I have seen some things. And so that's just all I was thinking about as they were nose
Yeah.
deep. And that to me was like, oh, maybe they're meant to be.
Hmm. Well, and I thought they had pretty good chemistry. I admit it was a little bit jarring. Excuse me. I admit it was a little bit jarring for me at first because Brad Hader, he because Brad Harder, he is gay in real life and he has played a gay role in 2 other Hallmark movies.
Hmm.
And so it was just like a little bit of an adjustment to be like, okay, which was fine. And I totally support the casting and everything. But I'll be honest, it took me a little bit to be like, okay, because I'm just used to seeing him play other roles. So that took me a second. But I did think once I got over that, then I thought that they did have pretty decent chemistry. I just wish that they had had more time together.
Yeah, that's totally fair. It would have been nice to see that build up a bit. If I'm throwing away my career,
Hmm.
I need to understand why.
Hmm. Yeah, and I thought that they were totally leading to her. She was going to end up being with Ben, which was the best friend. It seemed like, oh, this is friends to lovers plot. It was funny to me that she ends up showing up in like the most vaguely Star Wars outfit without actually being Star Wars. That was hilarious to me.
My partner actually is a big Star Wars fan. And I was just thinking about him when I saw the outfit. Because I was like, I don't know. I don't even think he would take a second to be like, oh, that looks lovely. Like he would just be like, no, this doesn't look right. It would be this instead. Like he does not speak like that. I make fun of him when he talks about Star Wars and I do a nerdy voice.
Yeah.
Just
It was also funny to me how she acted like a kebab was the most strange food she'd ever imagined.
yes.
She's like, what is this weird thing of meat I have on a stick? And I'm like, um, it's really not that strange.
I think it's the quality that helped her even begin attraction for David,
Mm-hmm.
who
Yeah.
just was the
Oh
worst.
yeah, because David is the business guy.
He's business,
Yeah.
Japan, karaoke,
Forehead kiss guy.
forehead kiss guy.
Yeah, which she seemed turned off by that. I thought it was kind of cute. I didn't have a problem with forehead kiss.
I thought the way it happened was odd because she felt so uncomfortable. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
clear she was full body cringing. So then I did the same on my couch. So shout out to the acting
Yeah.
because I mirrored what I saw on screen.
So then we have Madison Smith playing her ex, Matthew. No, what's his name?
Jason.
Jace. It was no Mason was
Mason's the new guy. I thought
new
Jason is the
guy.
ex.
Jason. Okay, sorry. I didn't have that written down. Anyway, Madison Smith. I love him. I think he's so charming and handsome, and I think he should be a leading man in these movies. He's the one that kind of like learns the most from her and takes it seriously, and so, they spent all this time sort of building these, it was, they were building all these, like, is it this person or is it this person or is it this person? Like, who's the one that she's going to end up with? Which was fun enough. Um, and so you thought, oh, maybe it's him because he seems to really be changing. Uh, and then it ends up being Mason at the end.
I
But
like that
I
it
thought it
wasn't
was
her
good.
ex or her best friend,
Mm-hmm.
because I like that her best friend is just her best friend, and she got confused for a moment because she
Mm-hmm.
feels so strongly about this person. And I like that she did not. I love a second chance romance, love to the second chance romance community, but I
Yeah.
just love that it wasn't her ex, that like she grew and he grew, and those two
Mm-hmm.
things could be complementary but not necessarily have to be together.
Yeah. Then we also have Damian Martin playing her therapist. And so he's kind of in and out. He's never really a potential suitor, but he's so handsome. He deserves more roles in these. Uh,
They
but
found an unbelievably attractive man to be her therapist.
yeah,
As someone with a therapist, I simply could not fathom if my therapist were this man.
yeah. No,
What can you say? What do you do?
he is really dreamy. So that was good.
So hot.
Uh, and let's see what else was funny and fun. I mean, I love Shannon Chan Kent, who plays her best friend. I love her. I think she's really, really good. And yeah, I bought her and Ben
Me
together. That
too.
was kind of fun.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Hmm.
And I
Um,
liked that it kind of felt like a 27 Dresses reference, the reveal with Mason.
hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, so she finds out that he's like an actor, that he's was hired to look into Better Date or whatever. And so she's like, how could you lie to me? And even though, it's they weren't even, they were just fake dating. But uh she tries, so she's really upset, but he tries to get them to stop publishing the article. They publish it anyway, and then she ends up running into him at a party, and you're an incredible person, and I told them not to print the article, and they both tried to find each other. And she says that kiss was worth breaking the rules for, and it was a pretty good kiss. So I agree.
It
Their
was a good
original
kiss.
kiss, yeah. I just, like I said, I just wish that they had spent more time together and there hadn't been this whole kind of so much fake pretend dating with other people and so much of the work stuff. And I felt like this was like needed one more pass at it, and I would have loved it.
Mm,
It was like almost there, but I did enjoy it.
I agree.
Hmm. So I would give this one like maybe a 4 out of 5.
I would go 3.5 just
Yeah.
because I liked, I'm thinking of it as based on a curve versus individual rating. And I have another one of these movies that I liked better. And I think that one
Oh,
will be the 4, if you will. You know what? Let's
interesting.
do it like a 3.75.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I was at as well. But I really didn't like either of these other two. So it's gonna be a
Are,
good,
are
good
we going to fight?
conversation. Yeah. We'd like to take a second and celebrate our sponsor of this episode of the podcast, Baker Bookhouse Publishing, and 3 of the recent releases that will be a perfect end to your summer reading fun. First up, The Secret to Happiness by Suzanne Woods Fisher. Callie Dixon sets her goals and reaches them. So how did this executive chef end up in a small ice cream shop on Cape Cod, sharing a room with her cousin and refusing to set foot in the kitchen? It will take the charm of a young boy and his quiet, steady father to help her find the answers and maybe the secret to happiness. Second, With Every Memory by Janine Roche. After a tragic accident robs her of the last 9 years of memories, Lori Mendenhall comes home to a family completely different than she remembers. As her memory returns and past secrets resurface, it will take all of them to repair what's been broken and find a new future together. Finally, Summer in the Spotlight by Liz Johnson. After a devastating hurricane on Prince Edward Island, Kelsey Ahern sets out to save her beloved community theater and her job. As she draws her friend Levi Ross into her plans for a benefit show, she discovers there's more to him than she expected, and that God's plan for their future are so much more important than the struggles of their past. You can pick up any of these books for 30% off at bakerbookhouse.com or use the affiliate link below. That's bakerbookhouse.com. All right. So then we have Maybe It's You. It stars Veronica St. Clair, Brett Dyer, and Molly McCook. Director Cameron Fay, writer Sono Patel. Best friends Peter and Lexa decide to try the one thing they've never tried, dating each other. So this one, I have a feeling that this was actually not a movie of the week, that it was not a made-for-TV movie. I think this was actually a feature that got bought and kind of morphed into a movie of the week. I don't know, just it didn't feel like, and maybe it's just partly the untypical ending, some of the other stuff. It just didn't feel like one of these to me.
It felt very adult to me.
Yeah.
Opening your movie with a joke, like the jokes that they opened the film with, I was like, oh, this one is like the TVMA version of these movies. It was not that intense, but just based on some of the banter right at the top.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what when I said that it wasn't, these weren't as spicy, like this one wasn't all that sexy, but you're right. It is the humor, and it is vulgar, was kind of vulgar for.
Yes, it wasn't as sexy, that's true, but it was very vulgar.
Yeah. So yeah, this one I struggled. I mean, I like friends to lovers sometimes, and I don't mind an atypical, rom-com ending. I like My Best Friend's Wedding a lot. I enjoy that. I just really disliked both of these people. I just thought they were terrible, and I didn't like kind of the whole Taylor element, and I didn't really understand why he was interested in her at all, why he ended up marrying her. I didn't think that he even really liked her that much, like even being with her, like at all. I don't know. I was just really annoyed with everybody involved in this movie. I didn't like it.
I think I had to take it scene by scene.
Yeah, let's do
because
it.
as soon as I took a step back, I was like frustrated. But if I just took each conversation just like truly what was right in front of my face, then I would be like, oh, it was a funny interaction. That was a funny interaction. But exactly as you said, as soon as you take a step back and go, hold on, we never even understand what Peter likes about Taylor.
Yeah.
There's like a small banter moment with them toward the end of the movie, and it's maybe a little bit closer to his banter with Lexa, but it's certainly not the same.
Yeah.
But I agreed with Lexa's assessment, not to go too far ahead, that she and Peter basically like regress each other.
Mm. Yeah, and you just wanted it to be like charming, more funny, more, I don't know. Like, so it starts out, they're supposedly just platonic friends. He's even like practicing his proposal in front of her. And she supposedly has this app to help you find like the dive bar. And this app seemed like totally terrible. Like, and I do give the movie credit because they base like Taylor kind of debunks the app in like she's like, well, don't you have Google for that? And she's like, oh well, you can get reviews, don't you have Yelp for that? Why would you have this app? And So that was silly. But I just, yeah, so that's where it starts out, where he's going to propose, and they're supposedly they're kind of portrayed as sort of this yuppie couple uh with what's his name? What's the guy's name? Peter. So
Peter.
Peter and Taylor are sort of portrayed as this like yuppie couple, and oh, like, we're not going to order bread at the restaurant, and we have to go to this Italian restaurant instead of the Indian restaurant, and stuff like that. And you don't really understand why he is doing any of this. He just, I guess, thinks Taylor's pretty. He like lied about liking veal or eating
My
veal.
my impression is he wants almost like a mom. I feel like Taylor grew him up.
Hmm.
You see moments at work because they work in the same place where he's hungover and she slides him a couple aspirin in a water bottle. She
Hmm.
helps him find something. She fixed something in his clothes. It felt like she was parenting him, and I felt like it seemed like he really enjoyed that part of the dynamic,
Hmm.
that she seems to help him keep it together.
Well, and she does say that. She says that you're immature, and basically she sees him with Lexa, and says that uh that that they are immature in the same ways. They have the same kind of goofy humor and the same kind of jokes and same kind of stuff. And then he's like, I'll be your child bride. She's like, you're really not getting it. So yeah, that, I mean, it never really made sense what Taylor saw in this guy.
Absolutely.
You
I
know?
needed Peter to transport to Mismatch and sit across from hot therapist Ansel and
Yes.
grow himself up. Like,
Yeah.
leave Taylor alone, leave Lexa alone, just focus on Peter.
Yeah. Well, and then later when when Lexa and him go to the romantic weekend or whatever, it's a deal breaker for her, the fact that he was going to take Taylor. I get, like, months before he had planned, I guess, to take her to this retreat before they even have broken up. Why would why would she care about that? Of course he was going to take her. That's who he was dating.
I was on the opposite side of it where I thought it was so strange that Peter wouldn't just say, yes, I booked this vacation prior. I thought it was so strange that, because Lexa even says, like, I gave you the out. Like, when we went to the
Yeah.
dive bar, and not one on my app because it hadn't been published yet, but just we went to a dive bar and I asked you logically, like, this inn, you booked it while you were with Taylor. And he goes, no, of course not, which is wild because they had been
Yeah.
together for like 27 hours at that
Yeah.
point.
No,
It had
I
not been that
agree.
long.
I agree with you. Like, him lying about it makes no sense.
It was so
Like,
irrational.
it, it just made me dislike both of them, because I was just like, this is so stupid. And we're supposed to be like so invested in this, like they would literally throw away a relationship that they had been building for like decades. It had been a long time. And you're going to throw that away over, he got the it makes no sense that this person that he loves and that he had known and has been his friend for many, many years, that he wouldn't just be like, yeah, that was my girlfriend at the time. That's when I booked it. There's a fruit basket there that we can enjoy. Like, and then she would make such a big deal. It was such an artificial conflict.
Yes. And it made me think of, as we're talking about this, it makes me think of reframing for the movie. For
Mhm.
me, perhaps it helps me to enjoy it more if I don't think of it through the lens of rom-com and
Uh-huh.
more through the lens of almost like stoner comedy.
Yeah,
Because
I can see
I
that.
otherwise do not understand these two people and their motivations. But if I think of them through the lens of like, I don't know, some Seth Rogen movie, like This Is the End or Pineapple Express, where it's just
Mhm.
like party, 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 make bad decisions, then these
Yeah.
two are great and their banter is appropriate and it's very funny and it's just a
Mhm.
good, ridiculous
Mhm.
movie. Otherwise, I don't understand it. It
Yeah.
definitely, to your point, I have in my notes too that it feels like My Best Friend's Wedding in that you're not meant to really like Julia Roberts in My Best Friend's Wedding,
Mhm.
but this was like a shade too far, especially when they had that back and forth where he was like, I pee in the shower. And and she goes, I go to soup kitchens so I
Yeah.
feel better about myself. I truly shouted, "What?" at my television.
Yeah, she says that, she says, "We're there, I'm a bad person. I go to homeless shelters just to feel better about myself." Like,
Bananas.
what? Like, they just made I thought both of them were just so unlikable, and I I think that with My Best Friend's Wedding, it's more outright, like, farcical, more
Yeah.
outright slapstick, more silly, so it makes people behaving badly more palatable, I think,
I
that
mean, in My
it
Best Friend's
works.
Wedding, you have an adult man who takes a junior in college away from graduating college. So you're not exactly rooting for that love story either,
Mhm,
but
that's true.
you do have a more ridiculous set of events.
Mhm,
It's fun. It's a fun movie.
yeah,
I recently watched it on a flight, actually. It's a great
mhm,
plane movie.
yeah. Rom-coms are really good for planes
Yeah.
because you don't want anything stressful. You don't
No,
want
not at
anything
all.
that's gonna and, so I recently watched Mamma Mia. That was a great choice
Ugh,
for the plane.
that's one of my favorite movies, period.
Oh my gosh, we should do a Mamma Mia and Mamma Mia 2 recap. It's happening.
I would really enjoy that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love those 2 movies. Someone said Pierce Brosnan sings like a drunk bear, and I don't know what a drunk bear is, but it makes sense when you hear it. I just love those
Yeah,
movies,
yeah.
truly.
All right, we're doing it. It'll that would be I mean, it's perfect because it's the with the everyone's talking about Mamma Mia with the release of with Barbenheimer
Oh, true.
because you had the same day, just like with Barbenheimer, you had Dark Knight and Mamma Mia released on the same day.
Yeah, that's
Never
true.
forget. Never forget. Yes. Uh so then so he gets back together with Taylor, and then Taylor takes Lexa out drinking the night before the wedding, and she's like, I made him dull like me. And I was just like, what? These people should not be getting married. This is not funny. It's not enjoyable. And so then they try to make this kind of emotional ending where you think that she's gonna go and stop the wedding, but instead she runs in and she just sits down and cries. And I do think the actress, she's a good actress.
Yeah, I felt that whole scene. I loved the way the camera stayed on her as she's walking away from the chapel, and then
Mhm,
the way that it stays on her as she runs back. It was beautiful.
mhm. Yeah, that's why things like that is the reason why I feel like this wasn't a made movie of the week. It was turned into a movie of the week. I think this was like an indie little supposed to be sort of
Mm.
bittersweet romance, and which was like a huge thing this year at Sundance, by the way. Movies like Past
Oh,
Lives, and there was another movie, it was actually South by Southwest, but another movie I really enjoyed called Peak Season, which was bittersweet romance. There were a bunch of these sort of, there's one called Shortcomings, which I didn't love, but that was a big thing this year, was sort of these bittersweet, what might have been kind of romances on the indie circuit. So I have a feeling, I don't know it as a fact, but I have a feeling that's what was the case with this. But this Veronica St. Clair, I would see her again. It's other stuff. I do think she's a good actress.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I thought she was really great. And I think that I mean, short of sitting here and recording this with you, I would have been tempted to turn off this movie after some of these lines.
Yeah.
but she keeps you in.
Yeah.
And I will say shout out to Peter, because it was nice to see Michael from Jane the Virgin as a Jane the Virgin Hive member.
I feel like I've seen him on other stuff too. He could be good in these movies, but this character was awful. I hated this character.
Yeah.
I really disliked this. I've said some nice things about it, but I just really was not for me. I don't know. I'd give it maybe a 2. I just did not enjoy it.
I'd give it a solid like 2.5, because to me it was exactly middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Not great. I wish it had either like further leaned into being a rom-com. Like, I understand anyone's romance in this. I didn't understand anyone's love in this one. Or if it had just fully leaned into we're banter, consume many substances, make bad decisions movie. I think they would have benefited from picking a direction a little bit more strongly.
And just be funnier. If it was funnier, it would have saved all.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hearty, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Let's talk about arranged love. I am so sorry in advance. Some of these names are challenging, but it's Sharmita Bhattacharya, Andres Joseph Jonathan Bennett, director Abby Varghese, writer Rachel Avery, Maninder Chana, Arun Pal Singh. And it tells the story of Mira, who left India and her inheritance behind and now runs her own startup. When a problem threatens her company, marriage is exactly what she needs to solve it. So I've gathered you were a big fan of this. You really enjoyed it.
This one was my favorite. I thought it was so lovely. Maybe it helps that it's the first one I watched. So maybe I had the most energy. I do think order matters.
Yeah, that's fair. There were things I liked about it. I mean, I loved everything in India, and the seeing the country was fun. And I did like the guy quite a bit. I found her struggle. I just thought she was so selfish. I mean, she did not, all she cared about was getting this money, and like whatever she had to take down in order to get it, she was going to do. She didn't care about her aunt and her uncle. And yeah, they were a little overbearing and a little bit, but she just had this like tunnel vision. Like, she didn't want to spend any time with her like friends growing up. She hated them. She didn't really care about the people. She didn't seem to really even care that about the people, much about the people she was working with. It was just about, she had to get this inheritance. And I just found that really tough for me to get over, was just how unlikable I felt she was.
I think for me, maybe because I come from a family that immigrated, I am like very familiar with the sometimes like single-minded path to success in order to sort of establish yourself. And for me, what sort of explained that is she literally physically escapes an arranged marriage. I don't know that she would have been forced into it. I think she could have just further put her foot down. But her choice is to like escape route, like out the window, jump out away from an arranged marriage, and shows up to the US by herself. And within 9 years is on 30 under 30 lists and has this company that she wants to succeed. So I think to me, because of the fear of showing up somewhere by yourself, not having supports, not having this money,
Mhm.
and establishing yourself, that's why it made sense to me that she was so singularly minded.
Mhm.
The thing that was difficult for me to get past was at the very beginning, like what sets not the very beginning, but at the top when we see her at
Mhm.
the company, and shout out to Jonathan Bennett, who plays Silas, one of the
Mhm.
potential investors. Um, she shows her app, which erases your past internet whoopsie doopsies.
Yeah.
And I thought it was such a strange thing to basically for the demonstration to put fake stories together of your investor doing wild things. Like the premise of the movie was difficult for me mainly
Yeah, I
because of
wrote
that
down this
PowerPoint.
is a terrible app. So she puts in the fake stories in order to then erase them, and we're supposed to believe that this guy basically like hacks in to steal this erasing technology.
To
Is
me, I don't even mind the erasing technology. It's more like if I'm sitting down, Jeff Bezos, and I'm asking him for a
Mhm.
fulfillion dollars,
Right.
I would not then make a slideshow of photoshopped images of Jeff Bezos, like, naked at the office,
Right.
drinking on the job, like,
Yeah.
whatever those photos were.
You would do it of yourself
I
like
would
that,
or
or
just, like,
like I remember.
absolutely stock images, fake stuff.
Mhm. Like I remember a while back, it was one of those ID theft sites or whatever, companies, that would protect your identity from identity theft. And the guy had like his own in the ads, he had his own like social security number or something like that he showed and be like, this is how secure. It was pretty brilliant actually. Like,
Yeah. I wonder if anyone got
that
in
this is
there.
how good our service is that here I'm putting like that's more the way that you do it. Like you put your own, you know, like because you could put fake stuff or whatever, or have it be something you could just be like, hey, I jaywalked when I was in college and here's this on my record or whatever.
Yes.
I don't just something stupid that nobody really cares about, but you could
Here's that
demonstrate the technology.
here's the embarrassing performance of my a cappella group in college that I
Yes.
just never ever want to see again. I did
Yeah.
not do a cappella, but I have saved videos of friends who have embarrassing a
Right.
cappella videos.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the reason this website exists.
Yeah.
This
Or
app would
like,
exist.
yeah. I mean, and in fact, she could say like, here's the like a video I'm going to remove of me
Yeah.
leaving this marriage or whatever, like leaving people at the altar or something. Like you could have that, or here's my wedding invitation that didn't end up. Like you could do that. Yeah, the whole app, and most of the time in these movies, the apps are stupid. So that wasn't like a huge deal for me. But the fact that she would like lie to everyone and she would be willing to give up all of her inheritance, be willing to do anything for this terrible app. That I had more of the problem with, not as much the fact that it existed in the story, because most of the time the apps and these things are really bad. But it was more that what she was willing to do to get the app
Mm.
that was a barrier a little bit for me. But it was fun seeing Jonathan Bennett in a little bit more of a evil antagonist, whatever role. That was fun.
Yeah, he's a good villain.
Yeah, he is a good villain. Yeah, he's good. And you usually don't obviously see that. There's the 30 over 30, and we have. I did think that her boyfriend was kind of funny. The hippie sort of boyfriend.
He was very, very funny.
He was
And
pretty
what was
funny.
he like he had people in Cirque du Soleil or something?
Yeah, yeah,
There were a
yeah.
couple good jokes. Yeah, he's funny.
He did a lot with a small role.
Mhm.
So yeah. So she wants to get her inheritance. She goes to 30 under 30, and she finds this guy who agrees to be her fake husband. And I think I might be a little bit suspect of just how quickly he agrees. Be
Yes.
like he agrees. Like I would be concerned. I know they're at a 30 under 30, but it's just like all the expenses of going to India and where am I going to stay? What I like, all that stuff would just to, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to deal with. In fact, he was just like, yeah, sure. Hey, that was our first clue about him.
I was really glad to see that he had a secret. We can talk about it later, but like she gets drunk at a club and she starts to fall asleep on his shoulder when they get back, as she's recovering. And he says something like, I'm not who you think I am, or something like that. And my first thought was, oh, thank goodness. Like there had to be something because otherwise
Yeah.
it would just be creepy.
Right. Yeah. Andres Joseph, he was great. I liked him a lot. He was very charming, I think.
I loved their chemistry and I loved him as a romantic lead. And I'd love to see him in even more stuff. He was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. So then they get to India. And basically, like I said, she's extorting her aunt and uncle.
Yeah, she is.
She just is. And I mean, yeah, they were manipulative, and she says, you know, they know how to push my buttons. But a lot of the stuff that they did, if she's lying to them about being married, I mean, yeah, it makes sense that they're gonna try to make a honeymoon suite, like a night, you know, a place that stuff that they did for the most part, planning this wedding party. She would probably, the aunt's seeing this is a nice thing. And like whether they should make her getting her inheritance based on her marital status, you know, then that's, you know, not the best, but it's their money. They have the right to give it however they want. And she saw it as I'm fulfilling the desires of my sister, in making sure you get like taken care of and stuff. But
Yeah,
she
they're
is
honoring
extorting
her.
her aunt and uncle.
She is. They're honoring Mira's mom. And maybe they could be doing it better, but that obviously warrants a conversation. And to your point, not lies and extortion.
Yeah. And then what got me is, so she runs into two of her friends growing up, and they seem to have a somewhat pleasant exchange. And he's like, oh, look, that's fun or whatever. And she is super bitter about having to see them again. And she's like, I'm trying to forget my past, not relive it. Stick to the plan and get the inheritance and go back to our lives in New York. And I'm just like, jeez.
I wonder if that, I mean, I might be just looking so far into this, but to me, it all came back to the trauma of like leaving one country and going to another at like 20 years old. So my thinking is you just want to hit a hard reset because of how traumatic that is. That was my impression.
Yeah. And so then they find out that they're going to throw her a wedding. And we also find out that he's estranged from his dad.
Yes.
Because of what happened with the wedding, right? And because he left. Yeah. And then her ex is there at the club. The ex then kisses her, and he has a nut allergy, and he passes that she has a nut allergy, and she ends up going to shock, and she has to get an EpiPen and everything. And so there was all of that.
Yes, Rama had a bit of a hero moment.
Yeah. And then the aunt, she says, I just wanted to be a good mother to you. I tried to honor my sister's wishes. I'm so proud of you. She gives her mother's necklace. And she has all the henna art and all the traditions. She looked beautiful.
I loved the family conversations. So hers with her aunt, and then between the aunt, Peru, and Leslie, because Peru felt uncomfortable with his auntie knowing that his American coworker, Leslie, is his girlfriend. And I thought, or they didn't want to put a label on it, but I'm putting a label on it that she's his girlfriend. And I thought
Right.
that was really lovely too.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was
I
good.
thought that whole scene, I found myself just like grinning on my couch watching it.
Mhm. So then she fesses up at the wedding, and then he says he recites the letter for the
Mhm.
groom letter. And I thought it was so shocking that she slaps him in front of everybody like that. I was shocked by that. Just, you did all of this to get back at me, and then she slaps him. And I'm thinking, you have been lying to your entire family this entire time. You have been, all you've cared about is the money and extorting people. You've been using him to get this money. And he has one thing in his past, and you slap him in front of everybody. I thought it was not good.
As I continue my tour of making excuses and explaining Mira's behavior, I think in that moment she was shocked.
Mhm.
So she just maybe her body entered fight or flight and she
Yeah.
fought.
Yeah. It was, wow. And uh he did not deserve that.
No. And I wonder if it's she did such a terrible thing to him, or I mean, I wouldn't say terrible. Not wanting to be in an arranged marriage is your own choice, but she did such a jarring thing of abandoning him at the altar
Mhm.
that I wonder if she thought certainly there is no going back from that. He has to be seeking revenge.
And here he would have gone through with the wedding,
Yeah.
from all we could see.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah. So then he sees his dad, they make up, and then they find out that Silas has hacked them. He's tried to steal the code, and so he's not able to kind of blackmail them like he was, um, because of this. And then they're going to the airport. He follows them, and he stops them, and he says, and then they have their moment, the stupid charm offensive. And they kiss in the end. And so that was the movie. I just struggled with her, I really did. It was hard for me. So I would give this one two crowns. It wasn't my favorite, but what would you give it?
I'm gonna go 4. I might
Uh-huh.
even have to go like I know I've been in this Dewey Decimal System for the full episode. I think I have to go like 4.25 or something to balance
Uh-huh.
your 2
Okay.
because I really liked it. I
Uh-huh.
liked Mira.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if any of y'all saw it, we'd love to hear your thoughts and
Yes.
which team you're on. What was the guy's name? Uh
Rama.
Rama. Are you team Rama or team Mira? In the comments. I'd love to hear that. And so please, exclamation point. Please keep making these movies because it's fun. It's fun to have them in this rom-com scene. Something else to watch. So please keep doing it. And thank you so much, Mitu, for doing this, and tell people where they can follow you on socials and listen to your podcast.
Yes, you can check out the Pilot Podcast, where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer our listeners' question, should I watch this? You can find us on all podcasting platforms. You can find us on Instagram at the Pilot Pod, and you can also send show recommendations and requests to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also let us know if you want the Mamma Mia recap. I mean, it's going to happen, but let us know your interest. We want to hear. And make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. If you are listening to either of our podcasts on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews 5 stars. It really helps us out. And we just got a 5-star review and it totally brightened my day. So please, please do that. And then we also, if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers on YouTube are not subscribers. So if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps us a lot. And then we also have the merch store, which is a lot of fun, and our patron group where we have watch alongs and weekly exclusive reviews, and our Facebook group. So check that out. We really appreciate that support. And thanks again, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.